Hello and welcome to another little video clip here. This one will walk you through a little bit about once we take the standard down to manageable and measurable learning objectives, how we backwards plan from that common assessment. This here is actually a 10th grade planning template. The other screencast illustrated a 6th grade standard. So right here we're going to be taking a look at what a 10th grade one might look like after we move backwards from understanding the standards. So their performance task was write a narrative that develops real or imagined experiences or events using purposeful word choice, effective technique, well-chosen details, and well-structured event sequences. So this one revolves around a writing standard. And then they added that there needs to be a critical analysis of their own paper with two peers. So seeing that there is the final assessment, they've backwards planned from there. So this here would be week 1, and then we have that should be week 2, um, and backwards planning from there. So as you can see, they take the weeks and they move backwards from what they're asking. So on the 15th, students will apply an understanding of details in a text, whereas on Monday, they're understanding plot. So we're moving from understanding to applying sensory details. So if we look at the progression, students will understand plot, students will identify sensory details, because part of their final assessment was using purposeful word choice, effective technique, well-chosen details. Students will compare and contrast the impact of those sensory details in a text, and then Wednesday and Thursday are block periods, so Thursdays will be the same as Wednesdays because this is a different set of students on Wednesday and Thursday. And then applying those in a text, and you can see we've created a row for what frameworks they might use, such as here, this teacher identified purposeful talk, and then they actually put in what the class lesson might actually look like. Um, so students will be given a text with sensory details removed, and then the text with them, and they'll analyze the impact of those details and how it impacted author's meaning. And then how does the meaning of the piece change with adding the details? So as you can see, they're comparing and contrasting the same text with details added versus without them, and how that impacts the meaning of the text, which is a fairly rigorous task. And then here, students will add sensory details to a text where they've been taken out and explain their reasoning in choosing those words towards the author's intended purpose. So as you can see, if we were to come down, there's the resources used, and then the assessment. And you can see we move from depth of knowledge 1 to depth of knowledge 2 to 2 and 3. And then in the following week, you can see that they move from depth of knowledge 2 into 3 into 4. So over a 2-week span, we're moving from level 1 depth of knowledge to level 4 depth of knowledge, which ensures that we're increasing the cognitive demand and the rigor placed on what students are being asked to do in order to meet the overall evidence outcome connected to that standard. So students will understand how characterization affects the author's purpose. Then they will begin to identify those in the text. And then finally, on Friday, students will identify and analyze figurative and connotative meanings in a longer literary text. So that's how we use the backwards planning. Now, granted, that was only over a 2-week period. What I've done is we usually look at 3 weeks of reading, and then we do 3 weeks of reading as a writer. So really getting in there and analyzing what the author did. So the first 3 weeks we're looking at how are we reading, what skills are we using as readers, how are we looking at characterization, and then we really get in and look at a 3-week chunk of time around what did the author do, how did what the author do impact us as a reader, and then the final 3 weeks is usually a writing where we're applying what we learned for the first 6 weeks, reading as a reader, reading as a writer, and now taking those skills and understandings and applying them to writing. So that was pretty much just a quick overview of how we might use that performance task and then use that performance task and understood standard and break it down into a backwards planning that meets the needs of the standard itself and increases along web's depth of knowledge. Thank you.